Hi everyone, Kathy Beltran with Sacred Dance with Trance. I'm super excited to be here. It's been about a year, but I have somebody so wonderful that I cannot wait to talk with. Um, I would like to introduce you to Andrej Djordjevitch. He is a spiritual teacher and trance medium. And we, at first, let me tell you, I saw his first interview that I've seen. He might have done more than that, but this was with Helen DeVita, and it was wonderful. I've had a member reach out to me and speak so highly of him. And I just had to reach out to him when this is my first interview in 1 year. So this is fantastic. So, Andre, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing the work that you do. I'm just so very grateful to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Kathy, for inviting me. I look forward to it.
So we did have to work out a time difference. It's pretty early for me. It's like, I want to say 7 here. I think you're 8 hours ahead of me. But let's just get this started here. I want to know everything. So what was your mediumship journey? What started it all for you? How did it begin?
Wow, that's a big question.
I know.
Because for me, my awareness or my perception of what we call the spirit world happened quite late on in life, probably in my early 40s. But I realized that the spirit world had probably been knocking on my door for a long, long time. And it was only when I had a dramatic experience, a very dramatic experience, did I actually open my eyes and say, wow.
I bet.
And I'll share that with you if you want to.
Yes, please.
So I'd lived a life. I'm a business person. I sell steel for a living. I have my own company, employees, private medical health cover, so I'm very much, my mind is focused in the business world. And one day I was playing squash and I damaged my knee ligaments. I was probably in my late 30s, maybe early 40s. And somebody said to me, there's a guy coming around tonight in the front room, Fred the healer, he can fix your knee. And I said, don't be so silly. And I was like, Fred the who? Fred the healer? No, forget it. I've got private medical health care, they can fix my knee. Anyway, the next week, I had to go and get my first pair of bifocal glasses. Where you look down and you can read through the glasses.
Yes.
So I went to the optician and I got these glasses. And I was back around my friend's house and he said, oh, Fred the healer's next door. Do you want to see him? He can fix your knee. And I said, how much does he charge? It's free. I can't be free. There must be a catch. Mm-hmm. There's a con. What's happening? I said, no, it's free. So, I said, I'm going to sort this guy out. I've had enough of this Fred the healer. I'm going to go and see him and I'm going to prove that he's a charlatan, a crook, some kind of whatever it was. I was really, really totally against what he was going to do because I didn't believe any of it. And I walked in very arrogant. And I sat down and I put my knee in front of him and I folded my arms like this tight and I looked at him and I challenged him with my eyes. And I can remember this is the way I behaved. And I said, I'm told you can fix my knee. I wasn't rude, but I was in total disbelief that this guy could do anything. Anyway, he put his hands on my knee. And within about a few seconds, as I looked down through my glasses, I could see smoke coming out of my knee. It appeared like smoke.
Yeah. Crazy.
So afterwards, I went back to the opticians say they give me the wrong prescription, because when I looked down through the bottom, I started to see things. So they apologized, said, we'll change your prescription. And they came back and they said, there's nothing wrong with your prescription. And I said, well, I'm seeing things. And at this stage, I'm half starting to panic, but half starting to understand that, well, this seems perfectly normal, because I virtually became clairvoyant overnight.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that is how dramatic I think the spirit world had to work with me to get me to say, this is a potential path for you.
Wow,
So
amazing.
I became clairvoyant. Yeah, I became clairvoyant overnight.
See,
one touch.
You know, you said earlier that it didn't start for you early on, like in your 40s, or you know, that's when it started. A lot of people, that happens to a lot of people. But for you to have that experience where everything just opens up, that is amazing. For it to, I mean, definitely the path that you were supposed to take to go down. So
Well, it was, but then when I looked back through my life, I realized I was always connected in some way, but didn't know it. As a business person, I would make these wonderful business choices regarding people. I just thought I was a fantastic businessman. I had fantastic business acumen. How else could I think? But in looking back in hindsight, it wasn't that. I had this interaction, this psychic sense that I was using that I didn't know I had.
wow, that's a great story, especially to see smoke. Yeah, that would be like something like, what is that? I have to figure this out now, you know?
Yeah,
So
there was smoke coming out of my knee.
I think that, like, when I listened to your interview with Helen, I'm sure most people do this when they hear somebody's story. That's why I like the story of how everything started, because people can connect with themselves, like their experiences. Wow, this is really interesting. So after that, what did you do? Did you find a circle? What did you do to start that path down?
Yeah. Well, again, two things. First of all, this is about my journey and my experience, and it worked for me. So the first thing that everybody does when they have this sense of excitement, this sense of wanting to discover and to develop, you start to read books, you start to go to spiritualist churches, you ask people, how do I develop? The first thing most people will say to you, apart from sitting in the power, is find a circle. Now, finding a circle isn't that easy, because even if you can find a circle, if you find the right circle, even if you find a circle, it has to be the right circle.
Yes.
So anyway, I eventually found a circle. And I sat in the circle, and from day one, it wasn't right. The people did not resonate with me. It didn't feel right. And I'm thinking, well, I'm just a beginner here. How can I have these feelings from these people who've been sitting together for quite some time? Why am I feeling so not connected with them? And I was really upset, because I'd spent months upon months upon months looking for a circle. And then to find out I found one and it didn't work. Now, by this time, I had a pretty good connection with the spirit world on my own. I had an interaction with the spirit world on a daily basis. And I more or less said, what can I do? How do I sit? Where can I find a circle? And my friends in the spirit world said, sit with us. I said, what do you mean? We'll teach you.
Wow.
And I thought, wow. Well, I thought, wow.
Yeah, I'm saying wow.
And but again, and I'll talk about this later on about development. one of the main things about my development and everyone else's development is undoing human conditioning. We are all conditioned to act in a certain way. We are all conditioned to expect a certain outcome a certain way. And if we don't fulfill that outcome, then we think we've failed. So I have to deal with removing my awareness that I didn't need a circle, because as far as I was concerned, I had to have a circle to develop. That's what I was told. And now I got an intelligence working with me saying, for you, Andrej, you don't need a circle with physical people. You can sit with us. So, but still, all that information filters through the subconscious mind. So you have to deal with your subconscious mind and the images you've created of how things should be. So, okay, so I got to that stage. And then the beautiful stage for the next, I sat then with the spirit world for an hour a day for 2 years. And it was the easiest and most beautiful experience of my life. Because every time I closed my eyes, do you remember that film Avatar?
Yes.
That's what happened to me. I closed my eyes and I was in an avatar situation, surrounded by these beings of light and color every single time. And they just showed me everything that I've learned throughout my development. On every session, something different would happen. And that's how I developed, purely on my own, sitting the way I did.
You know, what's interesting is your answer. I didn't even get to ask you some questions, and you've already answered them. And that was one of the biggest things is most people can't find circles, or when they do, like your experience, it just doesn't work. So being able to sit on your own until maybe later being guided, if so, being guided to a circle, but being able to have that and be guided and learn from them. That's amazing to be able to potentially do that for, and others having that experience. So thank you so much for sharing that. I
Well,
love that.
Yeah, well, it's my truth. This will happen to me. But again, so I try to help people undo their conditioning, because the first thing they will say to me is, oh, is it dangerous to sit on your own?
Yeah.
Will I come back if I sit on my own? So again, I will help people with their human conditioning to say, well, I haven't lost anyone yet.
So when you would sit in the beginning, just sit for the hour every day for the 2 years, in the beginning, was it immediate where you started seeing things because your clairvoyance had opened up?
Yeah, it was immediate, and it was unbelievably immediate.
So this would make sense. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit, because you actually have some interesting courses that you're doing now. And I wanted you to talk about those really quick, because this way, I think with your story so far, your courses that are coming up will connect absolutely. You know, the reason why you're going down this path here. So can you share some of the courses that you're offering right now?
Well, whatever I try to do, all the courses I do, I try to teach them. It's basically about the trance levels, different levels of trance. So there's trance healing, trance speaking, and what I'm doing this year, I started last year, was trance evidential. And that's going to be, I personally think that is going to be a big way forward for a lot of evidential mediums.
Yeah, I saw that. I wrote that down on when I looked at your I want to say website. So
Yeah, because I mean, again, if you look at evidential mediumship, a lot of the way it's presented, again, is within a human conditioning. I think a lot of mediums have a certain way of doing things when they present an evidential. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if somebody's mother could come through a trance medium? Wouldn't it be great if that medium could become that mother? And wouldn't it be fantastic if that mother could speak to their son or daughter? And I think that would revolutionize the way we look at mediumship. And so it's very much about working in a trance state, totally undoing all our human conditioning. And whether it's healing, whether it's speaking, or whether it's evidential, being totally open to how the spirit world interacts with you. I can remember my trance speaking development, and I was hindered for about 18 months of my development. Because I wanted to speak in trance. Again, my conditioning for speaking in trance was I had to be in a sleep-like state, go into the nothingness, and somebody from the spirit world would talk through me. So, okay, I sat and waited for that to happen. And I was interacting with the spirit world, and then the energy that I work with said to me, well, I'm sharing this information with you. I said, yes. He said, well, are you going to trance speak? I said, no, I'm not allowed to trance speak like that. I had this conversation between me and Michael, the energy I work with. So, I mean, it's crazy when I look at it now. But I was telling him that he couldn't speak because I had to be in a sleep-like state before he could speak. And that hindered me for 18 months because my conditioning was telling me that is the way it can, or the only way it can work.
No, I totally agree, because I want to say that's how I thought too. So like, wow.
And then one day Michael said to me, he said, okay, Andrej, the only way we can get over this was, why don't you say to your group, I want to share my thoughts with you. And I thought, I can do that. So the one day I said, I want to share my thoughts with you. Of course, they weren't, well, there was some of the thoughts were mine, but they were very much Michael's thoughts. And then I started to express the thoughts of Michael in a trance speaking situation. But it cost me 18 months of my development because he was giving me all this information, but I wasn't allowing him to express because I thought it was wrong in the way it was happening.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because most people think that they have to be completely gone. And like you said, in a very deep sleep state to be able to do that. So
No.
You don't have to. It's just a matter of just starting. And
yeah.
So your awareness when this happens, you're there. You're not gone somewhere.
No. Michael does a really great exercise with me when I'm teaching. First, when I teach now, Michael does most of the teaching.
So Michael is
my spirit guide, the energy that works with me, and he takes most of the journeys when I teach. And again, that was a big step, huge step, because when I started teaching online, you put a lot of effort, a lot of timing, a lot of preparation to get it right, because people are investing time and money. You want to make sure they are getting as much as they can. So I planned all this out for this weekend course. And then Michael, the night before, said, I will do the course. And I said, yeah, of course you will. You'll inspire me. and I'll, work it out. He said, no, I'll do the course. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you turn the machine on and then you'll turn the machine off. And I said, what? I can't do that. I have these lesson plans. I have everything. I know exactly what I'm doing. And at that stage, I had a choice. I could have said yes or no. And I said yes. And I think it's probably the most successful course I ever run. It was unbelievable. And now I leave it totally to Michael, totally to teach whatever is right for the students I'm working with.
So do you do the most of the courses now online? Do you offer those strictly online right now?
Yeah, this year they're all online, and virtually all the courses are taught by Michael. The one exercise he does, which helps a lot of people, he did this live at the Arthur Findlay College. I was doing a trance healing demonstration, and there was 100 people in front of me. And I thought, okay, it's just going to be a good night. I'll just go into the trance state. Michael will come through, do his thing. The end of the night, finished, everyone will clap and go home. We're all happy. And before, about 2 minutes before we started, he said, well, no, I'm going to change things around tonight. And I said, hang on, you can't do that. I've got 100 people out there looking at me. He said, well, you ask your students to trust you, don't you, Andrej? And I said, yes. Well, will you trust me? And again, it's holding the panic down. And I said, okay. So what he did was, he said he wanted to show everybody the different states of, the different percentages of connection to the spirit world I had, and then reverse the process. So it started off with me speaking as Andrej and telling the amount of energy that Michael was bringing into the connection. Then when it got to a 50-50 tipping point, then Michael would come in, then Michael would speak, and he would then say where Andrej was at that stage. Percentage. So Michael would speak and he'd say, well, Andrej is over there. He's a bit nervous. He's looking. He's aware of everything is going on, but because he wants it to succeed, he's hanging on a bit. And then Michael would say, okay, he's just gone a bit further away, but he's still listening. And if you were to answer a question of me now, Andrej would probably come back and answer it. So even though Michael had complete control over the energy and the way I was speaking, I was still totally aware of what was happening. And then eventually Michael said, fine, I have full control now, and Andrej could be aware, but he's not. He decided to stay away. And then, and this was done live. I've never done that before. And then we came back the same way.
That's amazing to hear about the percentages,
Yeah.
happening in the background when you're sitting or you're doing whatever it is you're doing, you're teaching. That itself would be so cool to know that, do you do this? Like some of your courses, I want to say the Trance Healing Intensive, the Trance Speaking Intensive, I think there's your evidential one as well. I want to say there's that experimental trance healing one. When you do the altered states, is there something in there in your courses where, Michael or yourself, when you're sitting with your students, whether that's online or in person, are you able to see what's happening with their guides?
Yeah, yeah, the last session, that we did last weekend was that Michael tends to, I want to say answer questions. Michael would share some information with people. So at the beginning of the course, he will talk about things, he will share information. The feedback at the end of the session was that whatever Michael said at the beginning were all the questions answered that the students wanted to know.
Wow.
And they wrote it on the Facebook page. And they were saying, well, there was two main questions that were holding my development back. And I was going to ask Andre, but I didn't want to. But Michael answered them in the first couple of minutes.
Wow, that's really good, you know?
What Michael does, he has a complete awareness of where people are and what they need to experience. And he provides, what's the best way of describing it? He provides the energy to build a bridge between two levels of consciousness. I don't think he actually wants to do it for people because it takes away from their power, but he will provide the energy to allow people to experience far more deeper conscious states in their own way. That's how he works.
Wow, that is beautiful. I can't get over also them teaching you. I still can't get over that. The 1 hour a day, 2 years, and let them teach you, you know? I want to go back just a little bit here. Altered states. And for you, was that easy for you to get into an altered state in the beginning? Or did you have to just sit and keep sitting until you could do that?
For me, it was very, very easy. When I say day one, it happened on day one. Obviously, nowhere near the control that I have now, but certainly from day one, I was able to go into a deep altered state. And I can't really give you an answer why that was, you know, well, the only answer I can come up with is that the spirit world wanted to work through me, to reach out to share with as many people as possible. And so for that to happen, they helped me in that process. That's the only way I can.
Well, that and you're supposed to do this, so they needed to hook you really good to say, whoa, my gosh, what is this?
Yeah.
I'm sure that as a teacher, that you have students that have a hard time getting into an altered state. What is the best advice you can give someone that wants to do that?
The best advice is that you are who you are at any moment in time. So wherever you are on your development is right for you. But the main thing is don't question the outcome. Just focus on the process and just allow whatever's going to happen to happen. And I think that's really important because lots of students have this preconceived idea of what they expect to happen. And maybe the spirit world are knocking on their door at all different levels of their consciousness, but they are not even seeing that because they're focusing on what they think should happen. So even when I teach or Michael does a journey, he does lots of journeys, he will always say to them, whatever happens to you when you close your eyes is exactly what you need to experience. And that really, I feel, helps people move on because it removes their preconceived ideas. And they then feel into their own reality. And it's like spirit guides. I do a spirit guide course. And what I try to share with people is that their spirit guide is unique to them and their perception. However they perceive that energy, it is their reality. Allow whatever images, feelings that come through, and assume that they are right for you. Otherwise, they wouldn't happen to you. So it's allowing the process to happen. But you have to also provide the time for that process to happen. I'm assuming that we all, maybe I should backtrack. Maybe we're assuming that we all know about sitting in the power. But no, if you can't, you need to sit in the power. You need to make that connection to the healing, or the intelligence, the universal intelligence, call it what you want, to allow the process to happen.
I'm almost giving up on my questions, because once I think of the question, I'm looking down my list. Oh, he's already answered that. All right, let's just talk a little bit about something else. But this always happens. I want to go back to you again in the beginning. When did the trance healing come in for you? How did that come in? Was there an experience where you just all of a sudden started to see healing things happen? How did that happen for you?
Well, going back to the very beginning, when I started to become clairvoyant, there's a second part of that story. I did go back to see Fred the healer the next week. And when I walked in to see him, he looked at me and he looked behind me and he started to talk to somebody behind me. And I turned around and of course there was no one there. And I said, again, I didn't have a clue about the spirit world, really. I said, what's this guy talking about? And he said, I've been told to tell you that you can do what I do, healing. And I didn't know what healing was. I said, okay. And he said, I want you to go to a spiritualist church and there's a message waiting for you. So I said, okay, which church, which day, what medium? And he said, I've been told to tell you, you choose. But when you go there, there'll be a message waiting for you. I didn't even know what a spiritualist church was. So I looked up spiritualist churches. So I choose a church at random. I chose a day at random. I didn't tell anybody I was going. And again, this probably changed my life more than the touch from Fred. So I got to the church, opened the doors, big church, full congregation of people, 50, 60 people, 3 ladies at the front who I didn't know who they were, but they were the mediums. As soon as I opened the door, the middle lady turned around and she pointed at me and she said, Andrej, we've been waiting for you. I have a message for you.
Oh,
and I thought, oh my God.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I had a choice of closing the doors and running or going in. And she said that the spirit world wants to work with you through healing. And I said, okay. So at this stage, I thought, who am I to argue? Because there's obviously an intelligence that has orchestrated this. This wasn't a random. Fred, the healer, and this church, there's no connection. So that again made me believe there's an intelligence at work. So I started basically learning about healing.
I mean, I think that's so amazing because you knew, they told you, you heard it, that it's the healing path. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And so you just had the direction and read and then started sitting and everything like that. So I've done these past interviews and I've asked these other questions where members had sent me questions to ask people. And they are sitting for the first time or in a class, and it's not specific, it's just trance mediumship. It could go in different directions. And they've already set in their mind that they want to be a trance speaker or they want to do trance community. That's what they want to do. Will the spirit world, I believe that the spirit world already knows how they can work with that person. And so should somebody just get it out of their mind about which direction, or just, or keep it in their mind that I want to be a trance healer. No, I want to be this, or I want to do that. What do you think with that?
Yeah, I think they should remove it from their mind, because all the spirit world want to do is express themselves through a medium. They want to manifest the energy of the spirit world into physical form, and that can be done through healing, through speaking, or through evidential. It doesn't really matter. When I do trance speaking and when I teach trance speaking, what I say is not the words so much that count. It's the energy that comes through with the words. So everyone who is training should just be open to, okay, I want to be a channel in the trance state for the spirit world to come through, and I will just open up to see, when I link into the spirit world, when I start to have this mind-to-mind blend, when this information comes into my mind, how is it presented? Will it be a pure flow of energy, which will be healing? Will there be thoughts in my mind? So then they'll be speaking? Or am I getting evidence? So initially, just allowing the process to happen and to see which way the spirit world are going to interact with you. And then ultimately, you will be able to do all three. And that's what I do now.
All three of
When,
them.
when somebody has a trance, I call it trance healing with Michael. Sometimes it'll be a pure half an hour energetic transference from the spirit world. Other times it'll be half an hour's talking from Michael. And sometimes it'll be half and half. There'll be the energy transference from Michael, and the other half will be words spoken by Michael. And I've learned over a period of time to just allow the process and trust that the intelligence knows exactly what the client needs to feel and hear.
I think it's beautiful. To have that, to be able to do all those three things. When you first started to where you are, when you first started to do it publicly, how much time was that before you felt comfortable to go out and do healing?
Well, there's different levels of comfort. Within 2 years of training, I felt very comfortable with my healing connection, knowing that the spirit world could really work with me and help people within a couple of years.
I always like to ask that question. How long did it take before you started to feel comfortable? Because, people always say, well, can I just take a course and be able to do that automatically forever? And so I want to share that it took time, that it took commitment and sitting. So
it took, absolutely.
So
okay,
go ahead.
Yeah, what I say to students when I teach at the Arthur Findlay College, they've had a great week and they've made great progress and they've interacted with Michael. And I say, look, and they're all going to book to come on next year's course 12 months later. I say, fantastic. But if you do no work in between, you'll be exactly the same as you are today when you come back in 12 months' time. I said, the choice is yours. There's no pressure on you. But if you really, really want to be an effective trance healer, then you're going to have to put in the work. Because what I say to people is, I really believe, I know throughout every bone in my body, every molecule in my body, I know that the intelligence that we all work with can change the world. And all it requires is a bit of hard work on our side of things to make that process happen. But we have to do the hard work.
You know, I actually love talking to trance healers because sometimes I forget that I'm even interviewing and I'm like, you know what, I could just listen all day. And so then I have to remind myself, that's why you see me always looking, okay, be prepared. Ask the next question. It was lovely talking with you. I loved your story. I loved your experience, but before we go, I want to talk more about your upcoming courses. First, you can reach Andrej at AndrejDjordjevitch.com and his Facebook page. So where would be the easiest way for somebody that wanted to connect with you? Would it be through Facebook?
No, the website, AndrejDjordjevitch.com, the website.
Okay, the website.
They can reach me through email there. They can see all my courses there. They can book online there. They can book sittings, one-to-ones, coaching, all through the website.
Okay, and so if you're on Pacific Standard Time, California, East Coast or West Coast, he's definitely 8 hours ahead of us. So you definitely want to check your time before you do any of that. What is some of the upcoming courses that you have for this year or anything online that you want to share so that members can kind of get an idea?
Yeah, well, this Sunday we're doing a free Mother's Day blessing. And that will be Michael. Michael will take the whole thing. It's an hour's long. It is free, and he will guide everybody in some kind of journey to do with mothers, connecting to mother, speaking to mother, whether it's in the spirit world or here. That's when this Sunday. We've got a spirit guide course coming up very soon that is very popular, interacting with your spirit team. But they're all online. All courses are online. We just started a mentorship for the year, but that's closed now.
Do you have any of the trance healing, trance mediumship, evidential coming up as well?
Not in the trance healing will be in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So plenty of time to get on that.
Plenty of time. Again, what we do on the website, I think we release 3-month courses, which are bookable, but put the whole year's courses on so people can plan ahead.
Okay, that's perfect. So definitely check out his website, AndrejDjordjevitch.com. Check that out. Check out all his courses. And again, thank you for sharing your story and giving us such beautiful wisdom, especially for all the beginners that are coming in and not knowing what to do, but knowing that maybe they could just sit, but definitely for sure, sit and do the work with spirit.
That's it.
So, but thank you again for being with us and sharing.
And thank you, Kathy, for inviting me to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Well, you have a wonderful day or the rest of your evening, I want to say afternoon, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you again.
Okay, bye-bye.